Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 292 of the On Air Advocate. Where at the On Air Advocate, we provide education, advocacy, and supportive services for special needs parents, caregivers, and those with different abilities, as well as complex medical conditions. For those of you who may not know me, my name is Tammy Flynn, and I am the host and producer of the On Air Advocate. And I am super excited if you are here this morning joining us, or whether you are catching this on the replay. Now, as always, if you think any of the content we are talking about today could be relevant for your network or your community, please hit the share button and share the love with others. Well, if you have been following along with us, you know that we are in our back to school and transition series. And this morning we are going to take it back to the little ones and the back to school segment with Jill Urbane, the mentor mom. I am so excited to have you here this morning. Welcome, Jill.
Thank you so much, Tammy. It's so good to see you.
Yes, and this is the first time that you are on the show. So before we get going, I'd love for you to just give the audience a little bit about your background.
Sure. I am a social worker and early childhood interventionist. I have been working with toddlers and preschoolers with delays for almost 25 years. And I now have my own business called The Mentor Mom, which includes a YouTube channel and all that stuff. I'm sure Tammy, you'll share all the links to that, but I have different programs where I want to continue to support parents of young children so we can give them the strongest start before they hit the doors of school.
Yes, most definitely. And you are definitely the expert. So when she talks about YouTube channel, there's just about everything you can find on that YouTube channel when it comes to early childhood interventions. So Jill, we wanted to kind of kick this off with, obviously, lots of kiddos are heading back to school. And those readiness skills that we should be seeing as we bridge from preschool to elementary school.
Actually, more of like going to their first school experience.
First school experience.
Yeah, preschool.
Yeah. So what are some of those readiness skills that we should be looking for?
Well, I love talking about this topic because a lot of times in my many years of doing this, parents want to know, what can I do to have my toddler ready for preschool?
Right.
And a lot of times they think that readiness for preschool means being able to identify letters, shapes, colors, and numbers. And that is not what the preschool teachers would like to see from their preschoolers. So I went through and interviewed many of my preschool teacher colleagues and asked them, what skills would you like to see these young preschoolers have when they hit the door to be able to do to ensure a smooth transition and so they can get the most out of a preschool program?
Right.
So on the list, I'm going to go through all of them and feel free to stop me at any point in time. So the first one is
I have my pen out. So I can take notes.
Yeah. Okay. So the first one is that they should be able to follow some simple directions. Be able to come in and have the teacher say to them, take your coat off. Being able to follow, we would expect a typically developing preschooler to be able to follow at least a 2-step command. Go get your backpack and hang it on the hook. So this is something that, we need to work on with young children before they get to preschooler age. So that's the first one. The second one is we would expect a preschooler to be able to sit for a short story. I'm not saying a long story, but a short story. So having frequent reading time with your child on the couch, or if you're worried about them not being able to sit for a story, so many of our local libraries have story time for toddlers. That's a great way to kind of give them that experience of going someplace where there's a group of peers and lots of distractions going on, and help them to learn about this process and be more prepared for that experience in preschool. The next one would be, and this one surprises a lot of parents, but they should be able to sit at a table for a meal or a snack. As somebody who's done this for a long time, I think that a lot of times parents were really chill about breakfast time with kids and lunchtime with kids. And I've had a lot of parents over the years who were okay with their toddler kind of grazing breakfast, maybe out on the table for a good hour, and they can come and go as they please to, go play over here, come back, get a couple bites, go back to playing. And in preschool, that will not be their experience. They're going to be expected to sit at the table for their meal or their snack. If they get up, they are telling us that they are all done and the food goes away, which is a shock for a lot of these little ones who haven't had that experience at home. So helping them, they have about, I would say, 15 to 20 minutes for mealtime or snack at preschool for little ones that are staying at the table. And that's typically a good amount of time for any kind of meal for a little one. I was actually talking to a parent yesterday, and she was really surprised to hear that it's such a short time frame because her little one has an hour to eat his breakfast. And I said, yeah, when they come to school, they really don't have that much time. They got stuff they got to get to. So
Right.
practicing normalizing that experience for your child, at least with some of the meals during the day, that we're going to sit in the high chair or at the table for breakfast or for lunch, or maybe for a snack. So it's not a kind of foreign concept, and we're not having them walk into a situation where they're like, wait a minute, this is totally different than what I've experienced at home.
Right. Right.
Keeping on the theme of food and eating, we would expect typically developing preschoolers to be able to come in and have some experience using utensils and basically be able to self-feed using a spoon or a fork. And this is something that, most parents are working on this with their young kids because they're motivated to have them feed themselves. But every now and then there are some parents who are still kind of using the utensils for their child and feeding them with the spoon. So keeping that in mind, I'm a big fan of big picture parenting. So keeping in mind, like with my 2-year-old, what a year from now, what skills do they need to have? So start working on it sooner rather than later. The next thing would be in keeping in mind again with the mealtime portion of classroom programming, they should be able to drink from an open-lidded cup. Now, this one is really tricky because a lot of us, and hey, when my kids were little, I was a big fan of sippy cups as well because they keep our carpets from getting stained and filled with wetness.
Most definitely.
But drinking from an open-lidded cup is a really important skill. Now, there will be some kids, especially if it's a student who has a delay, who maybe has some issues going on with their suck swallow reflex, that maybe they are able to have a specialized cup for that. But in general, most preschool programs are either having children drink from a straw, like their milk, or they're having them drink from small little cups. So there's a lot of motor planning that goes along with drinking from an open-lidded cup that we as adults take for granted. We pick it up and we can tell by the weight of it how far back to tip. This is something that has to be practiced for young kids. So I always encourage parents with toddlers to consider during meals where you're sitting at the table to have your toddler drink from an open-lidded cup, starting with water and starting with a really small cup. Like I like to use the lids from a NyQuil bottle, those little plastic cups, because the paper ones, they like to just squish.
Yeah.
So starting with a small cup, and it's a great way to help give them the practice of the motor planning part of it, the independence part of it. And the other benefit of using an open-lidded cup is it works totally different muscles on the lips and the mouth, which can be really beneficial for speech and language and sound production. Okay. The next one is understanding turn taking. And I did a little.
I feel like adults need to understand that sometimes too.
Well, I found over the years that sometimes we just kind of assume that kids are going to be able to do this. And I always tell parents that it's really important for you to practice this skill with them. They need to be good at doing turn taking with us as grownups before they're going to be good at doing turn taking with peers. Because, and you'll notice I'm not saying sharing, right? Mm-hmm. Sharing is a really complex concept for young kids. If you think about sharing our food, once we share it, it never comes back. And then we tell our little ones, hey, share that toy with your friend. And they're like, oh, I don't think so. My cookies go away. So laying the foundation for them understanding turn taking. You get this crayon and then I get that crayon. Mm-hmm. Do they like turn taking? Not particularly. Right. Will they understand, though, that I will get another shot at this? Yes. So practice turn taking with your little one. And then when they're ready to start practicing turn taking with a peer, be there to support them during that process. Kids who understand turn taking when they hit the doors for preschool have far less frustration than those who don't. Let's say engaging in some pretend play. They should be able to be doing some pretend play, like playing in a pretend kitchen or playing with baby dolls. And again, for some kids, this seems to come naturally, but for other kids, they need to have that modeled at home by their parent. I had a little girl once who I brought some farm animals over to a home visit, and she was just kind of putting them in and out of the barn. And the mom was like, that's all she does with her stuff. Well, when I modeled that the horse is taking a nap and the horse is hungry, then she was like, oh, you mean I can do with this farm animal the same thing that I do during my daily routines with my parent? She took off with it. She was all over it. So sometimes we have to model those things for our young kids, but we would expect preschoolers to be doing some pretend play. Now, the next one is a big one. They should have some experience being away from you as a parent. I've had lots of preschoolers over the years where they have never, ever, ever been without their parent. That is really a challenge and somewhat traumatic for those little ones. They don't understand what school is. They don't understand when you say goodbye that they're ever going to see you again in the beginning. It can be really scary. So you want to practice and have opportunities well before they start in a preschool program. Having them stay with maybe a sitter or going to a small little program where maybe you're there, but you're not directly near them so that they can start feeling comfortable in other environments with other adults. So that is a big one. We've had many a preschooler who the first month is nothing but tears for the entire 3 hours that they're there because they're just not understanding that they're going to see their mom and dad again. The next one would be they should be able to focus on a task of interest. So the typical attention span of a 3-year-old should be anywhere between 4 to 8 minutes. So when I tell parents that, they're like, oh, okay, I'm good. My little one's good. They think, well, he can't sit for 20 minutes and do an activity. That's okay. But they should have some interest in an activity like, for example, playing in a sensory bin for at least 5 minutes. And there have been very, very few toddlers or preschoolers in my many years of doing this that don't have the ability to stay focused for a short period of time with something that they're interested in.
Right.
The next one, they should have some self-dressing skills. So being able to take their coat off, being able to put their coat on, maybe with minimal assistance, putting on a pair of shoes. All of those things are very, very helpful for teachers, especially in a preschool environment. Like if it's I used to work in a special education preschool classroom. Having 12 kids that are not able to do any kind of independent dressing skills, which they work on while they're there, it can take up a lot of time in the classroom. So practicing those things when your little ones, are 2, helping them to learn how to pull their pants up when you're getting them dressed, and you can them and do hand over hand. We should always be working on independent skills with our young kids so that they're able to do those things because it helps with their self-confidence too. They feel when they're able to do those things. A lot of preschool programs require that children be potty trained. And now in our special ed preschool classrooms here in Michigan, that is not a requirement because, they are working on other things. And then finally, the last one is they should be able to handle some transitions, ending one activity and moving to the next.
Okay.
So visual charts are a great way to help with transitions, and especially introducing them to young toddlers. Most classroom programs use visual schedules so that they go over with the kids. Okay, we had breakfast. Next, we're going to do free play. And then after that, we're going to go out to the playground. Kids are much more likely to get it when they see it than when they hear it at that young age. And I do, on my resource page, which I will share with you as well, I do have a link to my Etsy shop where I have a visual schedule that people can just download and put together. But That really helps with transitions, especially the little ones who struggle to understand, okay, I'm playing with this activity right now and I really like it and I don't want to stop. It's because they're not understanding, oh, we're going to go eat a really cool snack.
Oh, right, right. And so this list is awesome. Now, do you have this list anywhere that is downloadable?
Yes, I will share the link with you. So there will be a checklist that has all of these as well as tips on how to work on some of these skills.
Okay, that is awesome. And so as I was listening to you, I was thinking about our community here at the On Air Advocate. And obviously, there are a significant amount of special needs parents
Mhm.
that have kiddos that are just, working on some of these, skills. And a lot of times I'll hear from parents like, my doctor's not listening to me. I'm not sure that they're ready yet. Should they have this skill yet? If a parent is feeling, because I know our gut, they always say follow your gut, right?
Yes.
Feels like, um, you know, he's a little bit more behind than I think he should be. So I'm listening to these skills that Jill is giving, and I really think that he might need a little extra help or evaluation. What is the best way to navigate that and go about that process to get the help that they need?
Well, that is a fantastic question. I'm really glad you asked that because there are a lot of parents who believe or uh, their only understanding of how to access early intervention services is to do it through their pediatrician. So there are two different models. There's the medical model and there's the
Right.
educational model. So a parent can do both. You can talk to your pediatrician and they can make referrals for assessments for speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy. That's all done through the medical model. Now, as a parent, you can also request an evaluation through your local early intervention agency. And I will make sure that I share a link with you of how parents can find that in each state.
Oh,
Um,
awesome.
so a parent can directly contact their local early intervention agency and say, I'm worried about my child's motor development. I want an evaluation, and they will send a team out to evaluate and determine whether or not they qualify for early intervention services. Now, around the age of 2 years, 10 months,
Hmm.
a parent can contact their local school district if they have concerns regarding their child's development and request it from the local school district. So if they're worried about their child's speech or motor planning, they can contact their local school district and say, I would like my child evaluated because he's struggling to walk up steps and he's almost 3 years old.
Okay.
So
No,
there's
that
like a 0 to 3 and then 3 to 5. So in early intervention, they can work with a delay up until the age of 3. And a child who is under 3, if they have a 50% delay in one or more areas, can also qualify for special ed services under the age of 3. They're the same service, but they're already qualified for special ed services.
that is wonderful because I can't tell you how many times I hear that from parents. And obviously, I work on a lot of advocacy with parents as they, kind of bridge into the school system and IEPs and then into obviously transitioning after leaving school. And so knowing, because I hear so much, I brought it up to my pediatrician, but they seem not concerned.
Yeah.
What are the ways that I navigate that? So that is awesome, Joe. You are just a fountain of knowledge, and I love it. Bringing it all here. So for anyone who wants to find you on your different platforms, I know you do so many different things. Can you let the audience know, where the best place to, if they want to chat with you is, find more resources, that sort of thing?
I am on all of the social media platforms, so you can find me pretty much anywhere. My YouTube channel is a fantastic resource for families who are just looking for some short snippets to understand a variety of different developmental things for toddlers and preschoolers. So there's a lot of information. I work a lot on language with toddlers, so you'll find a lot of information on language development in young children, as well as behaviors such as tantrums and meltdowns, which is a very common topic among young children. So my YouTube channel, you can find me under the Mentor Mom if you go to the search there. I guess I would refer everybody to go to my resource page, which is at the mentormomblog.com/resources. There you'll find some freebies, you'll find the programs that I have, as well as all of the links to all of my social media.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. And we will drop in the show notes for the podcast all of those links. And then we'll also drop them in all the social media platforms underneath that we can so that it's easy to access. So, Jill, I just want to thank you so much for being part of our Back to School series and being here bright and early with us this morning and sharing.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Tammy. It was great.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us this morning, and we will be back with more transition and back to school goodness real soon. Thanks, Jill.
Thanks, Tammy.
Bye-bye.
Bye.